Welcome to Lantern and Shroud, a podcast of ghost stories, folklore, and the things that haunt the spaces in between. I'm Natalie, and in each episode I'll guide you through these tales, and my husband Gav will bring each one to life through his artwork, available to watch whilst listening on YouTube and TikTok. So if you're ready, let me take you somewhere forgotten, a place with history buried in the soil, a story whispered down through time, a haunting that never quite lets go. Some tales are true, some are twisted by the years, and some are still happening. So light the candles, draw the curtains, and listen closely, because you've just stepped into Lantern and Shroud. Welcome to the shadowed slopes of Pendle Hill, a brooding rise of moorland in Lancashire, England, where the wind never seems to rest and the mist clings to the earth like a memory that refuses to fade. For over 400 years, Pendle Hill has been a place of whispers, of witches, ghosts, and things better left undisturbed. Tonight, we'll climb that hill together. We'll trace the footsteps of the accused and listen for the echoes they left behind. Pendle Hill stands tall over the Ribble Valley, its summit often lost in fog. It's a wild, lonely place, 1,800 feet above sea level, where sheep graze on windswept grass and the sound of your own footsteps seem too loud. In the Middle Ages, this was royal land, part of the vast Pendle Forest. Few lived there. Those who did were isolated, poor, and deeply suspicious. They spoke of cunning folk, healers who used herbs and charms to cure illness, bless livestock, and protect against bad luck. But by the early 1600s, that line between healer and witch had begun to blur. England was changing. King James I, obsessed with witchcraft, had even written a book about it, Demonology, warning of Satan's servants hiding among ordinary folk. And so, in the shadow of Pendle Hill, fear began to grow. Our story truly begins in the year 1612. 12 people, all from the villages around Pendle Hill, would soon be accused of witchcraft. There were two rival families, the Demdikes and the Chattoxes. Their matriarchs, Old Demdike, Elizabeth Southerns, and Old Chattox, Anne Whittle, were both well known as cunning women. They sold charms, potions, blessings, and sometimes curses. One spring day, a young woman named Alizon Device, granddaughter of Old Demdike, met a travelling peddler. She asked him for some pins, a common request in those days, used for healing magic as much as sewing. When he refused, Alizon muttered a curse. Moments later, the man collapsed, struck by some strange paralysis. Word spread quickly. "A witch," they said. "There's a witch at Pendle." Soon, the local magistrate, Roger Noel, began his investigation. He questioned the Devices, the Chattoxes, and others in the nearby villages, and as fear took hold, neighbour accused neighbour. Even 9-year-old Janet Device, Alison's own sister, was brought to testify against her family. Her words sealed their fate. By August, after a 2-day trial, 10 people were condemned and hanged at Lancaster Castle. Among them, Alizon Device, Elizabeth Device, James Device, Anne Whittle, Anne Redfern, and Alice Nutter, a local gentlewoman who many believe was innocent. Only one escaped trial, Old Demdike, who died in her dungeon cell before she could face the gallows. And so, the Pendle witches were gone, but their stories were just beginning. Pendle Hill is quiet now, but not silent. Locals say the witches never left. Let's start with Old Demdike, the most feared of them all. People walking the moor after dark speak of a bent old woman wrapped in rags, muttering to herself as she climbs the slopes. If you meet her eyes, they say you'll feel a sudden chill and the taste of iron on your tongue. Others claim to see Alizon Device, the young witch whose curse began it all. She's been spotted near New Church in Pendle, standing amongst gravestones, whispering prayers for forgiveness. Sometimes she weeps. Sometimes she vanishes in the mist before your eyes. Then there's Alice Nutter, the wealthy widow who swore she was no witch. Her ghost is said to haunt the village of Roughly. Unlike the others, she doesn't appear as a horror, but as a sorrowful figure, pale, dignified, dressed in black. She walks silently by the river, near the stone statue raised in her honour. Some say she still seeks justice. At the centre of the legend lies Malkin Tower, the place where the witches supposedly met. Its exact location was never found, though many believe it stood near Black Moss Reservoir. Visitors who wander that area today report strange happenings. Sudden drops in temperature, the smell of burning wood, and sometimes the sound of chanting just at the edge of hearing. Some call these the Pendle lights, flickering orbs that dance across the moorland, leading travellers astray. Others say they're the witches' spirits, returning at the hilltop each All Hallows Eve. Down in the village of New Church in Pendle, the Church of St Mary's keeps its silent vigil. High on its tower is carved a strange symbol, a single watching eye. Locals call it the Eye of God. It was meant to protect the church from evil. But even so, strange things still happen there. People claim to see glowing eyes peering from the darkness in the graveyard. Some have heard whispered voices, women calling names like Demdike and Chattox. Visitors leave offerings, flowers, coins, even pins, at the graves they believe belong to the witch families. Whether in fear or respect, who can say? Pendle Hill has become a pilgrimage site for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Every Halloween, groups climb the hill by torchlight, hoping to make contact. And many claim they succeed. Recordings have captured strange voices, faint, almost pleading. Help me, forgive me, Alizon. Others describe sudden dizziness, cold spots, and the feeling of invisible hands grabbing at their clothing. Even in daylight, the hill feels alive, a place that remembers, a place that doesn't forgive easily. Today, Pendle Hill is both a place of beauty and of legend. Hikers climb it for the view, not the ghosts. The Pendle Witch Trial runs through the villages of Barrowford, Roughly and New Church, guiding visitors along the path of history. There are witch-themed pubs, statues, and even a Pendle Witch's Ale. But for locals, the old stories still linger, not as entertainment, but as warning. They say if you walk the moors alone and the mist begins to roll down from the hill, you might hear voices in the wind. Some say it's the sound of the past whispering to be remembered. Others believe it's the witches themselves calling still from the edge of the other world. Pendle Hill watches. It always has. From the days of the witches to the ghost hunters of today, it remains a place where the line between this world and the next feels thin. Perhaps that's why the wind never stops there. Perhaps it carries their voices. And if you ever find yourself on that lonely hilltop at dusk, listen carefully. You might just hear a whisper in the heather, a woman's voice saying your name. You've been listening to Lantern and Shroud, a journey through history, legend, and the lingering ghosts of Lancashire. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, be sure to keep your lantern lit.